Hi, this is Ro. Welcome to Cloudberry Hollow, and today we're working on leather journal covers. So come on in and let's get started.
Hi guys, today we're doing our leather journal covers. We will need the two journals that we made in our prior videos. These roughly measure about 5.5 by 9. I made another smaller journal, and this is 5.5 by 6.5. You'll need a pencil, a mallet. We have a leather punch and another type of leather punch. This is a swivel. You will also need a snap setter, a beveler. This is a size 2 beveler that I have. If you have a size 0 or if you have a size 3, that'll work as well. And if you don't have one, don't worry about it. I will show you what to do. This right here is called a leather swivel knife. You'll need a set of snaps. And if you don't have snaps, that's okay. I'll show you an alternate way of closing your journals. And this is a large button. You'll also need a ruler, a cutting edge. I have a rotary cutter, 800 grit or 220 grit, some water. You can have some beeswax if you have some. Right here I have some leather twine. If you don't have leather twine, this is an 1/8 inch round elastic. And let's get started. We're going to start our project out with our leathers. Here I have two different types of vegetan leather. This black leather is called sienna flat leather, and this is just plain vegetan leather. It's a crafter's leather. And the vegetan leather is 6 to 7 ounces, and the black leather, the sienna leather, is 3 to 4 ounces. And if you can see here, the different widths of the leather. And this vegetan leather is a lot harder to bend, and it's not as pliable. And this leather, as you can see, is extremely pliable. So I went ahead and prepped this leather earlier prior to the video, and this leather didn't need to be prepped. And how I did that was I added water to prep the leather. I went ahead and I took this notebook, because it's just a couple millimeters larger than this notebook, and I decided to make the leather about 18.5 by 9.5, and that's the size of journal for the journal cover. And all I did was I wanted to see how big it would be if I folded this in half, and I did it while it was wet, and then I went ahead and I folded it over. And if you look inside, like right up in here, I don't know if you could see that, I made it also wide enough that I can put multiple journals. Now, I am planning maybe to put 2 or 3 journals in here, and possibly thicker journals as these are. And we're going to open that up. And that was my plan. So you can see the watermarks that are in here. It's important that you work on your edges, and we do that with a beveler. What I like to do is bevel on both sides. So the beveler gives a nice clean cut, and you want to go on both sides like this. Now you have a nice bevel on all sides of your leather. After you bevel your edges of your leather, you want to sand your edges. You want to start with a 220, and you want to smooth out the edges of your leather. You want to make sure that you don't get any sanding on the front of your leather, because if you do so, you're going to scratch up your leather and ruin it. After you're done with your 220, you want to get an 800 or higher, And you want to start smoothing that out too. So now you've got your sanded edges. You want to start burnishing your edges. Before we do that, I want to show you 2 ways you can burnish your edges. You want to start burnishing your edges with water, and I have some beeswax to show you one way. And then I'm going to burnish my edges with my Dremel. This is also a preference. You don't have to do it with the Dremel. You want to go ahead and put water on your edges. And then you can take your beeswax and then you seal it off this way. And that's one way you can burnish your edges. Another way is if you take your water you can have a burnisher, or I just use the edge of your wooden handles and you can burnish this way. And the other way that I do it, I put water in here. And then I'm going to take my Dremel with actually the with a buffer, and I just burnish it this way. That the burnishing goes well here. And you have 3 different types of burnish. So we're going to start here. And I'm going to burnish my leather. So for the next part of our journal cover, we're going to add some clasps. And you might want to just make sure that everything is even. And remember that as it's getting used, it will start to bend. At this stage, you can choose to dye your leather. We're not going to do it at this point. Ooh, I got some water. It's okay. Or you can, if you don't like the water marks around here, you can take a sponge and wet the entire leather. And you can just dip it in your leather sponge, and you can just choose to wet your leather down. So we're not going to need the water until a little bit later. So now you have a little bit of a moistened leather, and this will also help you fold your leather if you need help. And then fold it over. You want to measure about 1/8 of an inch from the top and the bottom so your journals have plenty of room to slide in. Let's take our pencils and just measure about 1/8 of an inch. So you want to do 1/8 of an inch. 1/8 of an inch. And when you do that, we're going to put in 2 holes. If you look at this as the center, right here, as a center point, you can put your ruler here, that you can measure from here to here, and this is your center. And this is your 1/8 of an inch mark here. So this is where your 1/8 of an inch mark, and then so you want to put a hole to each side. So there's a 1/2 inch here and a 1/2 inch here. So there's 1, 2. You want a hole here and here. So if you look, you have 1/8 of an inch and 1/8 of an inch from the center going in. And you want to do the same from the bottom. Okay, now we're ready for the hole punches. You can either use your handheld punch, or you can use your punch that you use with your mallet. So I'm going to try with my handheld punch, and you're going to go here at your 1/4 inch holes and this one at your 1/4 inch holes, and I am using my size 2. Alright, so we have our 2 holes. I have them that big because I need to be able to put my leather through. So for my leather cord, we're going to measure out about 3 inches of the leather cord. So about 3 inches of my leather cord. So that's about, what, 3 inches. And we are going to go into the top here and pull through. And we're going to go, and we're going to leave a tail, and then we're going to go through the bottom. And we're going to go through the bottom here. And we're going to go through the top. All right. All right. And then I'm going to tie it. And this is going to have more of a looser knot for right now. I am not going to trim this for right now. Okay. And now we are going to measure out where we're going to put our button. For the buttons that we have, these unscrew, and boy do they unscrew, and we just need a small enough hole for this to go in. So you want to see where you want your button to be. I'm thinking I want it here, so we're going to put a little X. We're going to get our handheld leather punch, and we're going to go ahead and give this a few whacks. I do 5 to 10 whacks, that should be good. And you're going to give it really good whacks. So now you have your hole, and then you should be able to push this through from the bottom. There we go. And put it through, and you have your button. And then on this side, so I like to go ahead and mark where the center of that hole is going to be. About right there. We're going to put this through again. The size is a 4.8 millimeter. And we're going to go ahead and do this probably about 5 whacks again. Okay. I like to get my swivel beveler, and I'll cut a hole in here. It's my swivel knife, not a swivel beveler. And here we have our book on one side and our other book on the other side. And here we have is our leather journal. Now, if you don't have the button, what you could do is make a loop, put it through the hole, make a knot, like this, and push it through here. And you would do this with your elastic, and then you would just wrap it around your journal, and then it would close as such. And you wouldn't need a button to wrap around your journal. Now we'll do the next. Our next journal cover is going to be for the 5.5 by 9, and it's going to be using the Sienna flat. This is a 3 to 4 ounce leather. This has been pre-cut. I cut it down to about 8 by 17 inches. And we're going to cut the top now. And I like this one to be a little bit organic. So for this journal, we know that the highest point is going to be around here. We don't want to go any lower than this point on the journal. I have a little bit, just maybe 1/8 of an inch of wiggle room, and I don't really want to cut that off. So let's look at this. I could use my 16-inch line here as my guideline. I don't want to go anywhere off of that. So if I use my rotary cutter, I can maybe go to my 15 and I don't know, 3/4, and possibly follow this and go down, and just be really careful when cutting. So if I go down a little bit, I want to be careful. Let's see. So this is like not quite straight. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, I like that. Okay. And it hangs down a little, kind of like the other one. This didn't have to be pre-treated because it's a soft enough leather. Here I have a few rough edges, so I am going to do the same and sand this a little bit. So let's go ahead and do the same procedure that I did on the other leather. Alright. So if you notice this time I did not bevel the edges. I let the sandpaper do it for me, and I went straight to the Dremel. Alright, so again, let's go back to measure out. Specifically for this size book, I'm not going to put any other books in here. So I have it for 1 snap going in. And at this point, it's really not going to matter which part we do first. So I just need to make sure that my holes are aligned. And you can also measure it out. So let's see how we're doing. There. Let's go down to the bottom. Right there. Okay. Alright, now that we have our snaps marked, we're going to make sure that I have this measured. And here, what we're going to do. 1, 2, and let's do 3. I'm going to go ahead and cut that. And this one, I am going to have it go all the way through. And I want it flexible on the back. It's a little bit of a different design. I'm going to have this one tie around itself to make a slip knot. So this can go, oops, that's a little bit too tight. Loosen that up. Ah! I made my slip knot too tight. There we go. Loosen this up. Go into here. Alright, I'm going to put that around like that. And then that goes perfect. And it's perfect. Okay, so I have my leather hole punch, and we're going to grab our snap setter. So this is a snap setter. And we're going to turn it over so it's on the flat side, and we're going to put this underneath. Not yet. We're going to end up putting this underneath our leather. So we're going to take it where we have our markings. There. Do it again. All right. Okay. Put your snap in. It should fit nice and snug. Put your snap setter underneath it. Put your snap up there because it's going to say Handy Leather. You want this piece with the little ball that's right here, and you want to pull that in here, and then you want to pound it in, basically. Yep. And we'll go ahead and poke that hole. And for this one, you want to put this down here. And you want this part to go up so it looks like that. For the second part, you want to put the top part of the snaps on here, and you want to measure out to the top, to the second part, and you're going to flip over the snap right here, and you want to use this tool. You're going to place it in the middle, and with some force, you're going to pound that all the way down. You want to make sure it's all the way in there, just like that. Okay. And then that should just snap into the first snap, like so. And here we have our secondary. 2 simple journal covers. I hope you enjoyed this video. If there's any other types of covers or pamphlets or types of book you like to see, please comment. Please hit the subscribe buttons and the likes buttons, and we'll see you next week. Bye.